some help to people, because there are lawsuits you may have heard of that have been filed now against Edison and against the Montecito Water District. And the Edison suit, whether there are some that involve Edison alone, there are some that involve Edison and the Montecito Water District together. Those suits are based on the fact that it seems clear that the causation of the Thomas fire can be brought back to Edison. And so people that have maybe been underinsured, or people who paid deductibles, or people who didn't make a claim because they were afraid their deductible was too high. This lady that we were talking about earlier, $50,000 worth of debris removal, but her insurance policy probably is going to have a pretty high deductible, a good percentage of that. These people can really benefit from having a competent attorney counsel them on whether or not they should join the suit, what it would entail.
But I have a question about that suit when it comes to Montecito Water, because I live in Montecito. Aren't we suing ourselves? And Montecito Water is already struggling.
The suit's going to happen.
And then they could go bankrupt, and then what, Santa Barbara buys them out of bankruptcy and manages our water?
So the suit's going to happen in any event. It's already happening. The water district, like most utilities, has an insurance policy. They may even have additional insurance. There's going to be all sorts of questions about subrogation and things of that nature, whether or not Edison's insurance carrier will have to subrogate, or whether or not the Montecito Water District can get their claims subrogated to the Edison claims.
Which means
that's
separate.
All lawyer stuff.
For people who don't know what subrogate means, that means two separate.
Well, that means
lawsuits.
No. That's more of apportionment, I think, is what you're referring to. But subrogation generally means, for instance, somebody who sustained a loss in the Thomas fire or the ensuing mud flow that came from it, they may get $1 million from their insurance carrier, let's say, and they may have sustained $1.2 million in actual damages. They join the suit. They get a recovery of $1.2 million. $200,000 goes to them. $1 million goes to their insurance company, because their insurance company's claim is of subrogation to the Edison claim. So the person won't recover twice. The insurance carrier will step in and will get reimbursed from the losses that are paid by Edison's insurance company. And so we're going to see a lot of that.
And if you have a mortgage, the bank's going to take first grab.
Well, certainly. I mean, if you have a mortgage, it's, we are limited on a radio show.
Sure. Sorry.
Well, I have a question just about the class action suits themselves, because I've talked to a lot of people that, of course, it came out, less than a week after everything that had happened, and we're still searching for bodies, and you've got these, class action suits. And
it's not really a class action, sorry.
Okay. What would it be classified
It's a mass tort.
Mass tort, and people advertising for that, and people that were offended.
Yeah.
But there are there large companies that look for things like this, and then all of a sudden they're the first ones that do it? And does that preclude somebody else from doing their own thing? Or
so that's an excellent question. I agree. It was very insensitive, I would say, of people to be running down that path so quickly. Having said that, we do, as lawyers, sometimes we are like doctors. You have to get evidence preserved. You have to get witness statements preserved. You have to do things quickly, and you need to let people know, like I did about their insurance policies. You have to let them know what their rights are quickly so they can make better and informed decisions. It's not going to preclude others. In fact, I really commend the homeowners and the business owners who sustain losses who have not yet made a decision on whether or not to join those suits, because they should be talking with somebody and getting counsel. I'm happy to talk to them. I've been talking with a lot of them. And we look at it. We look at what it means for them and how it can help.
And I know we're running out of time, but what I'm really unclear about, Catherine and I did Bucket Brigade on the weekend where we were digging out houses. And the homeowners were telling us that the mud was not being covered by their insurance company if it was outside the house. And it sounds like you're saying it is covered.
Yeah, every policy is different. But generally speaking, the answer is yes, it will be covered. It's a question of your scope of loss. That's the next most important part of these insurance claims, is really defining the scope of loss and characterizing properly the damages that have been sustained. So some carriers, to Catherine's point earlier, carriers don't like to pay out, right? They want to slow down. They want to.
So what do I do today? I've got mud everywhere. I got Bucket Brigade coming on Friday. What can I do today to make sure that insurance company pays so the Bucket Brigade people can go somewhere else?
Talk to your adjuster or an attorney, preferably an attorney, if you're having problems, about your policy, about what the debris removal coverage is. And if debris removal is capped, as so many are, look at landscaping coverage. Look at ancillary damage coverages and riders and things of that nature. I wish there were more time.
If people are listening and they would like to get a hold of you personally, which we highly recommend, by the way, you're terrific, even if you guide them somewhere else. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
I would say the law offices of John Thyne III at 805-963-9958 or just ThyneLaw.com, THYNE law.com.
THYNE. John, thank you for all the wonderful information and being a part of this community, such a vital part. So we do thank you for that. You are listening to Cowork Radio. You can follow us on social media. You can listen to episodes and interviews on coworkradio.com as well. iTunes, iHeartRadio, and we'll be right back after the break.
The Central Coast may seem laid back, but when it's time to work, no one works harder, including the bank that's grown up here. Montecito Bank and Trust offers customized lending and banking for all businesses, big and small. It's harder than offering one-size-fits-all solutions, but it's the right thing to do. And here, getting things right is a way of life. Montecito Bank and Trust. Behind every great community is a great bank. Montecito.bank. Member FDIC.
Koto Group. We are a boutique property management firm located here in the Central Coast. We are small enough to prioritize your business and large enough to match the right tenants with your property. Koto Group. We work for you 24/7 with around-the-clock marketing and emergency service. At Koto Group, we use leading-edge software, making us efficient and cost-effective. Koto Group. Property management for the 21st century.
Great timepieces begin their existence as testaments to incredible craftsmanship and the highest standards of quality. Exceptional watches are individually assembled, polished, and regulated by hand. They are the embodiment of a dedication to perfection. They begin as a crafted work of art and immediately become heirlooms for future generations. When you choose a timepiece made by Cartier, Breitling, Baume & Mercier, Patek Philippe, you're selecting a watch instantly recognizable for value, uncompromised quality, incredible beauty. And it's from Bryant & Sons. If you're considering acquiring a distinguished timepiece for a gift or for yourself, visit us at Bryant & Sons and let us show you what makes these world-renowned brands so remarkable. Bryant & Sons, California's premier jeweler, the exclusive home of many of the world's finest timepieces. 812 State Street in downtown Santa Barbara and the Upper Village in Montecito.
Welcome to Cowork Radio. I'm Jane Walker-Wood.
And I'm Catherine Raymond.
And we are here with lawyer, law professor, and founder and CEO of real estate brokerage company Goodwin & Thyne. That's John Thyne III. He was with us before the break, and we have talked him into staying because we still have so many questions about coverage after the Thomas fire.
We actually locked you in. I hope that's okay.
Uh-oh.
You're not going to call a
Richard,
lawyer.
help.
So, we were talking before the break about how Catherine and I did Bucket Brigade, and all the people whose homes we were digging out were saying that their insurance was not covering the debris removal outside the home. You're saying that's not true. So what do these people do today?
Oh, what I'm saying is that it depends on the policy. One thing is with regard to the debris removal, there are a number of other ways you can get that covered. We have some FEMA benefits that have been allocated to this area. As I mentioned earlier, the Edison claims, that will cover exactly that sort of thing where the carrier doesn't provide coverage. But get to an attorney. Have them review your insurance policy. Most of us are doing that for free for people right now, where we'll sit with them, we'll look at their policy, we'll give them some ideas, and we'll help them to know what to look out for when you're making these types of claims. Something that Jane and I were talking about during the break there is that scope of loss is going to be the most important document besides your insurance policy itself. Your scope of loss will really define the roadmap for what benefits and what coverages you should receive. And most insurance carriers will try to convince you to use their contractor or a contractor whom they recommend. That is a mistake.
Why do they want you to use their contractor?
For all the reasons you would suspect, right? Because their contractors are in league with them, and their contractors generally will find that your scope of loss is much smaller than it actually is.
Well, you know, interesting. I don't want to give the name of the family that we helped out, but they are a couple around our age, and they had a son at
30s.
UCLA, and they had actually packed him up and were taking him back to UCLA with his laundry and everything. So they had left the night of, and they were actually not there when it happened. But the story they were saying, and very well educated, I mean, you know, but what they said is they had gone to their insurance company. Their insurance company was the house was a loss, by the way, was not going to cover the outside debris. But then their insurance company told them, here's what's going to happen. We're going to come in. We're going to give you a quote to rebuild, and it's going to be real low.
Right.
They actually said that. It's going to be very low. And then you're going to hire a contractor, and then they're going to haggle back and forth.
Right.
And it was like I had just done a claim for my car, and the adjuster said the same thing. And it's kind of I'm a little outraged.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and the reality is that's where having somebody, an attorney or a friend who has a particular knowledge in the industry, to counsel you through these things, that's where it's helpful. We all assume that others are treating us with integrity and dignity, and they're just going to do their job, and they're going to come to the right amount of the loss. That's simply not the experience. And so sadly, we live in this bartering culture now when it comes to insurance claims, and they do exactly as you described. They lowball, they expect you to highball. If you don't highball, if you don't have somebody there advocating for you, well, great, then you're getting the lower price.
Yeah, I think people worry if they call an attorney, then they're going to run up more costs, and they're already having to pay out of their own pocket to get this mud cleaned or whatever they're doing.
Yeah, that's just not the case in reality, because the most attorneys who are competent in this area will bring enough of an increase in the payment to the client that it more than subsumes the attorney's fees. And if the carrier is acting in bad faith, attorney's fees can be included as a damage.
You know, here's something that Jane and I discussed, and we mean we're both very sensitive people, and we got out there and we volunteered. But at some level, and I love what these guys are doing, and Abe Powell is like one of the greatest souls I've ever met. But it's on some level we were wondering, like, are we part of letting the insurance companies off the hook? Is that a weird question to ask?
No, not only is it not a weird question to ask, but I've actually made that comment. It's no different than somebody who was displaced who stays with friends rather than staying in a hotel because of exactly what Jane said.
I had a friend say, well, I'm staying with friends because I don't want to be one of those people who takes advantage and I have a free place to stay. I'm like, well, what? You've been paying insurance all this time.
That's right. It's you're benefiting the carrier who's keeping the money in their investments and all of that stuff.
On the other hand,
it's our human nature.
Right?
I absolutely agree. I think I have done the same thing in the past. Many of us want to do what's right. We don't want to feel like freeloaders, but you are not. It's an amazing game they play to make people feel guilty about collecting benefits they've paid for sometimes 30 and 40 years. Now, it's just crazy.
We were also hearing, though, and I don't know, I'm gathering that this is the truth, and what kind of made us get motivated to get out there is that some of the insurance companies were saying we're not going to come out and assess the home until the mud is taken away where we can actually get in and see it. So is
some of the carriers have said that because obviously they can't put their investigators at risk. We obviously have a public safety evacuation zone that they couldn't go into. But I walked a lot the other day with a carrier, with an insurance adjuster, who had come in, and I told her, I think it's a total loss. She was like, there's no way it's a total loss. She showed up. We couldn't find the house. We couldn't find the foundation of the house. It was so bad. And it took us 25 minutes to find where the home had been on the lot, and we couldn't even find the boundaries of the lot compared to the neighbors' lots. And so everything was just one flat.
I know
area.
this is not your, your portion of what you're an expert at, but you certainly have been dealing with these people on the very practical terms, on the emotional terms, so you can tell that it's taken a toll. And